Welcome to the Catbird Quilts. I'm Kathy Martin. Every quilt I make, I try to do about 3 to 6 different things with it. And my Fireside Quilt is no exception. So let me show you, and I have a lot to say about it. If you've been with me for a while, you may have seen the fabric pull that I did for this Fireside Quilt. And the pattern is written by Suzy Quilts. If you haven't been with me, fear not. I will catch you up. It really, this quilt was like running hurdles in the track and field. It's like I just would start and then, oh, I got it. And then, you know how they do that like big lurch. Okay, got that hurdle. Now we're going to run some more. I started off with the idea that I wanted to do this quilt in all shirts. And I wanted to use linen if possible. And I wanted to have a cream colored background because I just don't often use a lot of cream colored fabric. And I thought, oh, this will be a challenge. So from the get-go, I was really doing like 3 different things: new quilt pattern, shirts, and cream colored linen. And it didn't work for all of the reasons, mostly because I'm Goldilocks and I want things just right. I decided this is not working. And with the help of my youngest daughter, who very often digs me out of these, it's like she gives me a boost. She just asked a bunch of really great questions. And the first question was, well, who's it for? And what are you trying to accomplish? Which, oh my goodness, what great questions. So it's for my friend and chiropractor. She's been my chiropractor for like over 10 years now. So I started this video by saying, once upon a time, I herniated a disc in my back. I was like, no, too much. But my chiropractor has just been with me for a long time. And when I see her pretty frequently, I always say it's like I'm Humpty Dumpty and I'm going to all the king's horses and all the king's men. And they do actually put Humpty back together again. Working in pharmacy and retail, and I am not someone who historically has had great posture. I'm in a position that's just kind of hard on my body and on my back. And then it just also happens that I love to quilt and do like hand binding and sometimes baking. Everything that I like to do in life forces me this way. And so with the help of my chiropractor turned friend, I am, working on shoulders back, good alignment, healthy choices in life. And so she has really been instrumental in my health and wellness for a long time. And she is a just delight of a person. She walks in and lights up the room. She's also very committed to really meeting the needs of her patients. And so to that end, when I got COVID back in 2020, she came to my house and left immune supplements on my front doorstep, which I took exactly like she said, and really had no long-term effects. I was one of the very fortunate ones that got COVID early on and was not taken out by it. Last year, our oldest daughter was diagnosed with gallstones and ended up having to have her gallbladder removed. And she had been suffering from back pain for some months and had actually already been to the pediatrician. And it was Dr. Witt that diagnosed her gallstones. She said, did they check her gallbladder? I mean, above and beyond what you'd expect your chiropractor to do. And so she has been with me for many years, has followed my career path and also now my quilting path, and is always interested, always cares about, well, what are you working on? Show me what you're working on. And so I made the decision that I was going to make this for her. And our youngest asked me the question, what are you trying to accomplish? It just so happens that Dr. Witt also has a child going to college, she's just left. And she's in that place kind of similar to me where it's like the leaving the nest and trying to figure out what it looks like to not be, parenting a teenager in high school. I took my linen quilt to her office because I do show and tell with my chiropractor and showed it to her. And she was just like, oh, this is like so comforting. I was like, yes, it is. And you may have been with me and know that I am an advocate, which is putting it mildly, for the linen quilts because I just find them exceedingly comforting and soft. And so at that moment, I made the decision, I'm making her a quilt. So after making the decision who it's for and what I'm trying to accomplish, which is to make something that she would really love and feel comforted by, I also steered the conversation to find out what her favorite color was, and it is orange. And her secondary favorite color, which she volunteered, is peacock blue. So, you had me at orange and then you had me at peacock blue. So after I got that information, then it was a matter of, pulling together the right fabrics. And we have that on a video. And I'm sure that picture is going to appear it may be over here. And you can check out that video if you didn't see it when we made it. So I started looking for the perfect fabrics because I want just right. I don't want too orange or too brown or too light or too yellow. To that end, I decided, well, I can't seem to find the right color orange. So let me just dye some of this white linen and see if I can make it work. So let me get this out so you can see it. And of course, there's more to the story. So here it is in all of its vibrance and vibrance. The orange linen that I dyed, and I really was trying to make it with shirts if I could. It's this lighter orange here around the center yellow. I have to say, it worked better than I thought, dyeing the linen. Although it is a discovery of mine, at least using Rit dye, that it was very mottled. M-O-T-T-L-E-D, not M-O-D-E-L-E-D. Mottled. Very much like a grunge. It just had a lot of irregularity in the color. I loved it instantly. I did not have the oh, darn, the whole thing didn't take the color. I was actually thrilled. And so the yellow is an Oxford cloth shirt. And then the now orange was a white linen shirt. The peacock blue is a shirt. And the kind of seafoam light aquamarine is also a linen shirt. So I was really close to being there, but I didn't have enough of the orange because honestly, when you do this limited color palette for the Fireside Quilt, it uses a surprising amount of fabric. The blocks are huge. And to that end, if you made every single block different, it would probably be great for shirts. But because I went with the limited color palette, and to Suzy Quilts' credit, she gives different directions or additional directions based on what color palette you want to go to. So from that standpoint, it's great. But I needed a lot of orange. So I rooted through my stash, found this clementine spotted from Zen Chic for Moda, which I have more than gotten my money's worth for. Gosh, I have used this in I think I'm on the third project now, and it just seems to work beautifully. Slightly darker than the lighter orange. And then we found a red solid yardage to kind of make it all work. One of the things about my friend that I love is her home is very neutral and calming. I think a lot of us that are in healthcare have that. It's like work can be very, very chaotic and demanding. And so when we get home, we really don't want anything that requires much of us. And I remarked on that to her, and she said, yeah, it's just calming, but I'm ready for some color. That was in the conversation about the that I kind of, and by kind of totally steered to try to get her favorite color out of her. And she said, I really want to start having some more color in my house. And she has a beautiful home and loves flowers. And so part of what I was trying to do with this quilt, which is the 3 to 16 things that I'm trying to do with any given quilt, I thought the layout of the blocks kind of almost looked like a flower. So the center with petals. Now I realize they're blue, so it's not really leaves, but just kind of reminiscent of leaves in the corner. And so I went with it and enjoyed it and, was trucking along pretty beautifully, and then got my seam allowance way off. Don't ask me how. Actually, it's a long story. So I already have too much to say as it is. But let's just say that when it came time to match up the blocks, it was a challenge. I had to get creative. I seam ripped some strips to make it work a little bit better. And then I used a lot of ease. I eased the fabric into place in lots of places and managed to get my corners together. Now, if you were looking closely, like not as close as a microscope, but awfully close, you might notice that the strips, which are all supposed to be exactly the same size and line up all across and down and throughout the whole thing, don't actually exactly match. And that is because these 2 blocks had one seam allowance and these 2 blocks had another seam allowance. And I did not cry. I did feel like crying, but I did not actually cry over it. But I really was pretty frustrated. But I was able to kind of ease it in, trim, all of the things, and got it together. And then it was like, oh, shoot, now what? I did have the back already picked out, which is rare for me. And it is a sheet that I picked up from the thrift store, and it's 100% organic cotton. And when I tell you it is the softest sheet I think I've ever felt, it is the softest sheet I think I've ever felt. And I loved it. And it's kind of cream, almost sand colored. You could, depending on what lighting it is, it might look gray or beige. It's just that kind of neutral. It's just neutral. And I thought perfect because the front is so very vibrant, so vibrant. And I think this is the sort of quilt that it's very modern, which is part of why I was really attracted to it. The other quilt that I made that Dr. Witt loved probably the most was the Adventureland quilt that is also a Suzy Quilts quilt. And it just has a really modern look. And she's like, that is so beautiful. If people knew that that's what quilting is now, maybe more people would quilt. Things were starting to come together, and I had my backing. I had decided to do bamboo batting because I'm currently in love with bamboo batting. It drapes so beautifully and it is so soft. So then it was like, well, I think I'm just going to stitch in the ditch and I'm just going to quilt it myself and stitch around the blocks. And I got about that far and was like, oh, I do not enjoy the quilting. I just don't. I don't like it. I'm getting better at it, but it is not joy for me. It is joy sucking for me, actually. And I wanted it to be great because it's such a vibrant color palette and it's such a riveting quilt pattern. I would say it's in your face. And I took it to work to show my coworkers. One of them loved it and the other one was like, oh, that's pretty. And the other one was like, So I think this one is going to be kind of polarizing. I think there are going to be people who go, that is gorgeous. And I think there are going to be people who go like, that is too loud. So I knew it probably needed the hands of a long armor to kind of make it really something great other than just this like pow in your face. So simultaneously, and also going back 2 years, everything is a story with me. This wonderful woman named Karen Smith messaged me on Instagram back in November of 2022. I said on the channel, I really need to find some long arm quilters because I am cranking quilts out and I just am going to have a lot of projects coming up and I need help with them. And she had messaged me. She is right on the cusp of retiring and is wanting to get into the long arm quilting business in her retirement. We exchanged a little bit of back and forth and it just didn't come to be. And then when I made my MCM throw pillow, as seen here, she messaged me and said, I would love to quilt your pillow. And because I'm me and I want things done yesterday, I actually quilted it myself and then got back to her and was like, oh, I wish I had been able to get it to you and back in time, but I just needed to go on and get it rolling. And so we started talking again. And of course I had to do the, 1,000 apologies of, oh my goodness, sorry, I haven't been in touch. I sent her a picture and told her, some ideas that I had. And we both agreed that it needed some curves. It is very, very blocky. I had thought maybe ribbon candy. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It just goes like loop and then back down and loop like this. I don't know if you can even see that because it's in the air. But anyway, her advice was it might highlight some of the variance in your strips, i.e., not being straight across, which of course I had not thought about, which is why sometimes the very best thing you can do is hire a professional who has eyes for it. I had told her I have been wanting to have a Baptist fan quilt design on a quilt that I've made. I don't know why. I really, really like it. I know some people don't love it. I think it's great. So she said, actually, I think that might be perfect because it's curved, but it has that geometric shape to it. And so we back and forth. And then she suggested that we do pretty dense quilting. So the quilting is about a half an inch apart. And I wasn't sure, I'm going to be honest with you, because I really wanted it to have that drapey, soft, comfortable feel. And sometimes dense quilting can make it feel tight and stiff, like a tatami mat. So I messaged her back, kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to trust you. I just don't want it to be stiff. She's like, I think it's going to be great. Showed me some examples. I'm like, go to it. And so she used a light gray quilting thread on it and did her thing. And I could not be more pleased. Could not be more pleased. It's exactly the Baptist fan that I wanted. In my opinion, the distance, this little, narrow strips together actually really gives it some more interest. It breaks up those big blocks. And it did, in fact, retain its drape. I don't know if you can tell that. Oh, and I feel like I have it upside down. It looks like it's still a Baptist fan. It's just an upside down Baptist fan. Because it's quilted so closely together, it has that wonderful crinkle. And the sheet on the back is so very soft. The backing thread she used exactly matches this background backing sheet. And so it's kind of the perfect marriage because it is crinkly and bumpy, but also drapey, which I attribute to the beauty of having a very soft sheet and batting that is bamboo. And the front is substantially linen and also some really soft cottons. We got it all worked out. She sent it back to me so fast that I couldn't believe she was already done with it. I was absolutely thrilled with her work, you can imagine. And you'll be able to see in all of these little details just how precise and beautiful job that she did. Her Instagram will be in my description box. So if you want to reach out to her, and then she can send you personal info of how to get in touch with her. So that's in the description box if you're interested. Her name is Karen Smith, and for our first adventure together, I'm not sure it could have gone better. Then we got it back, and I oohed and awed and took it to work and made everybody that crossed our threshold come touch this quilt, come feel this quilt. And then I had to decide what kind of binding to put on it. I had actually already thought I would do navy binding, and then had a moment like, ooh, I don't know, it might be too stark a frame around it. And for like 10 seconds, considered something else. Dark gray, I don't know, red, maybe more of the blue. And was like, nope, I think it's supposed to be navy. And so I have a navy linen shirt that I cut up and turned into binding strips, bound it in the navy, which of course crinkles up just exactly like the fabric around it. And I am just happy as a lark. So she will be getting this week. She has no idea it's coming, so I did not tell her. And of course, her wonderful technician, who I also adore, is going to be green with envy, so she's going to have to be next, probably. I have pondered and thought over what to call it. Very often we'll name a quilt something very specific, but this is the Fireside Quilt. And it actually is fairly fiery. So I'm not sure I could have named it better. It's definitely soft and supple and comfortable to feel, but one does not look at this stark front and think comfort. I think it's fireside. So in the end, I achieved all of my purposes, which rarely happens, all except for my strips being accurate. I didn't obviously get that together, but got my corners together, got my oranges chosen, dyed, and fixed appropriately, used as many shirts as I could possibly work out. Now there's this bright and happy and orange and peacock blue soft fireside quilt that is going to my favorite of all time chiropractor and very good friend. And I can't wait to give it to her. So I hope you've enjoyed this story of my fireside quilt. If you're interested in making a fireside quilt, it actually is a great pattern. Suzy does a great job of giving lots of tips and tricks to try to get those strips straight and lined up. Apparently, I didn't pay close enough attention. But it's a wonderful quilt. It has a very big visual impact. So if you're looking to dip your toe into the modern quilt pattern, this is a great one. Thanks for being with me today. I'm Kathy Martin. This is the Catbird Quilts. Thanks so much for watching.